And away we go. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome one and all to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today. We'll take a look at some clips from the news and have a little bit of dialogue with those of you who are able to join us for the live portion. And of course, if you are listening anywhere else and you would like to join the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk, and Prepper University. Please subscribe to both channels if you don't mind. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat and fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta as we get ready to jump off here. Being joined today by Granny Smith, who is sitting in the chair behind me, for those of you who can see, one of the felines that we take care of. One of 18, Granny Smith, making herself comfortable there. Naturally, I do read as many comments as is reasonable. Say hello to some of the people that have chosen to chime in and greet us today. I see Helter is here, as well as Dragon. Country Living from Minnesota. Brian is here. Brian says that person looks scary. Are you referring to the thumbnail? That is actually Hillary Clinton photoshopped into the CEO shooter's digital rendering. Kimberly has joined us, as well as Gary, Raccoon, and JJ today. And Cyberjack Sr. as we get ready to get rolling. Get the ball rolling. Get the ball rolling downhill. And John is here. He says, sure is a clown show and Thundercats. Yeah, everything in the media is a clown show right now. It's getting kind of stupid. And as far as cats, I have Granny Smith with me for the moment. She looks like she's settling in for a nap. And we'll go ahead and get started here. And this is going to be a USA Today article, because everybody's got to get on the bandwagon. Hopefully that doesn't cut in and out. I have been told that there's still some issues with audio cutting in and out. And I don't know if it's Restream or it's YouTube, because it could be either one or both. It's also possible, and I've had people speculate on this when they've been watching and I've gotten cut off in certain spots while speaking, that since they have a bot that's translating everything I say as I say it, because there is a closed captioning. Like if you had closed captioning and you turned it on right now, everything I say will scroll. So it's monitoring me as I speak. And it's possible there are times where it just cuts me off. And, I feel bad about that because, I do the best I can. I don't have like high grade studio equipment that, I can have this crystal clear quality or whatever. Restream is the best I can do. It's at 720p. I should be able to do 1040, but if I do and I share the news articles, it gets really weird. And there's all kinds of skipping and problems. So can't rely on that. Can't rely on ScrewTube not to mess things up or to give me strikes for talking. It's complicated. And again, I don't have all sorts of expensive, fancy equipment because I'm not like Mark Dice here or Jason Whitlock or somebody that can afford it. So it is what it is. I do my best. Let me see. David is here from Tennessee. And Country says the Clintons never did any of their own offings. No, but I thought the rendering was funny. And Brian says I took a closer look at who it was and thought, oh, that's why it's so scary. And John says so far so good with audio. I hope so. And Marvel Fan has joined us as we get ready to get this first article opened up, and it will be from USA Today. USA Today. The most reliable newspaper in the world. I jest. I'm ribbing you. And here it is. Michael Moore pens a letter after Luigi Mangione's arrest for the CEO killing. Quote, I condemn murder. There we go. Michael Moore trying to be relevant again. I don't think he's really truly been relevant since he did the documentary 9/11. But he's hanging in there, and he's gotten really, really, really weird over the years. Michael Moore has gotten really, really weird. Nature Nerd says real-time robot censorship dystopian world indeed violates freedom of speech. It does, but the argument, of course, is that because it's a privately owned platform, they can do whatever they want. But yeah, essentially that's what it boils down to. And I am being monitored in real time. And there's Jane. Jane Spitfire has joined us. And thank you, Jane. I did get your letter in the mail. Thank you for the help. I appreciate it very much, as do my feline friends. So into the article, Michael Moore is weighing in on the United Healthcare CEO shooting and responding to the alleged assassination. The storied documentation behind projects like Fahrenheit 9/11 and Bowling for Columbine reacted to a handwritten note police say they found among suspect Luigi Mangione's belongings, where authorities say Mangione railed against health insurance executives and reportedly wrote, "These parasites had it coming." It is not often that my work gets a killer 5-star review from an actual killer. The filmmaker whose 2007 movie Sicko explored the American health insurance system quipped in an open letter posted by his Substack on Friday. I don't know what Substack is. Moore turned the question, "Do you condemn this violence?" on its head in the letter, accusing the healthcare system of murder instead of its donors and political supporters and accomplices. Quote, "We pay more to deny care than to give it," Moore writes. 1 million doctors to give care, 1.4 million brutes in cubicles doing their best to stop doctors from giving that care. Okay, that's cute, Moore. He goes on to say that anger is 1000% justified, and I'm not going to tamp it down or ask people to shut up. I want to pour gasoline on that anger. Of course he does, because that's how Moore has built his career. Though Moore wrote that he was a pacifist, his letter lent legitimacy to the rebuke of the healthcare system some have expressed after the killing. Quote again, "I condemn murder, and that's why I condemn America's broken, vile, rapacious, bloodthirsty, unethical, immoral healthcare industry, and I condemn every one of the CEOs who are in charge of it, and I condemn every politician who takes their money and keeps this system going instead of tearing it up, ripping it apart, and throwing it away." So he's not really condemning the action. He's kind of dancing around it. But this is another way for Moore to get in the public eye again, that people have started to forget about him. Tuck says, "I've never seen anything by Moore except a CNN interview where he pretended to be angry at Sanjay Gupta." Yeah, he's always coming off angry. JJ says, "Michael Moore is still around?" Yeah, I thought Greenpeace dragged him out to sea, confusing him for a beached whale. And Gary says, "I wish there was a conservative daily podcast program schedule so I could smoothly go from Prepper U to other YouTube shows." That would be something, wouldn't it? And Jane says, "The Christmas card, did you check it closely? It was to be a joke." Yes. Don't worry, Jane. But anyways, back to the article. Yeah, we pay more to deny care than to give it. 1 million doctors to give care, 4 million brutes in cubicles doing their best to stop doctors from giving that care, says. I don't know exactly how many doctors and how many healthcare investigators, I guess, there are. I don't know. That could be an exaggerated number. That could be accurate. It doesn't matter. We've talked about this before when it comes to healthcare. The reasons why it's so expensive: A, because of people scamming the system; B, because of hospitals and doctors scamming the system; and C, because of people who are hypochondriacs and abuse the system, going back and forth to the doctor a million times, nothing wrong with them. So somebody has to be in place to try to slow that down. Okay, And it's not a healthcare system. It's a health repair system. And that's really the problem, calling it something that it's not. Calling the system something that it is not. Healthcare is having a healthy diet, regular exercise, physical cleanliness, hygiene. People are not hygienic. Having a hygienic environment. Do you clean your house? Do you do your laundry? Do you sweep the floors? Anything? Because all that contributes to bad air quality. People who abuse themselves, smoking, vaping, alcohol, weed, whatever they can get their hands on because they're people and they're stupid. People abuse the hell out of their bodies, and then they want to go run to the doctor and swallow a bunch of pills that make them worse. That's not healthcare. That's not healthcare, but that's the main part of the problem, is that between not being raised properly in the first place and being attached to a broken government system that's also trying to raise your kids, public school, etc. These kids grow up weak hypochondriacs that eat garbage, never exercise, and stare at a screen all day. And then they're always sick and they demand health care. Tuck says declaring himself a pacifist doesn't garner any respect from me. I despise warmongers and pacifists. There you go. And Monkey has joined us today. Gary says it might increase viewers and subscribers if there was a podcast bundle available. Makes sense. And Tuck says a doctor I saw in the 90s for a foot injury went to jail for such fraud. Yeah. There's all, and that's why if you could trust everybody, they wouldn't need but 10% of those brutes in cubicles, as he puts it. They wouldn't need but 10% of them. If you could trust people and you could trust the hospitals and trust the doctors, you can't. There's always somebody trying to game the system. Look at how many people try to game the system with traffic accidents even. Just that alone. My wife, who used to be an over-the-road truck driver, she used to drive a tractor trailer once upon a time. And that was one of the biggest things in the classes when she was first working for the trucking company. And they have you sit through the videos and they show you video after video after video of people who professionally try to goad semis into an accident so they can sue the trucking company, because most of the time you get to court and they're going to side against the trucking company, even though there's hard evidence, because those modern trucks, they got cameras all over them now watching the road. You can clearly see that somebody deliberately gamed them into an accident, and they still side with the person that was hit, and it costs the trucking companies millions and millions of dollars. That ties in with this as well. It's so many people trying to rip it off. I have a hard time feeling any animosity towards CEOs at healthcare services that are like, okay, we need to make sure we're not getting robbed here. There's only so much that can be spread around. They can't just pay for everything. And again, the only alternative then is social medicine, and yeah, good luck. Brian suggests that slobs like to smoke cigarettes, eat garbage, and go a week or longer without bathing. Even 20 years ago, it wasn't as bad. And Nature Nerd says modern truck literally have logs to keep track of the time the doors open and close. Yeah, it kept track of everything. It kept track of everything, and it would call her out, because she couldn't pass 65. And I rode with her a couple of times. I was an authorized ride-on, because you can't even pick up hitchhikers. You can't even do that unless you're an independent driver. But if you work for a service, if anyone rides with you, you have to have an authorization for them. And she had an authorization for me because I would ride with her occasionally. And if she slipped a hair over 65, it would tell her, you are exceeding the current speed limit. You are exceeding the current speed limit. And on and on and on. And Mocha has joined us. Glad you could make it today, Mocha. Kimberly says there's enough real accidents without bozos trying to actually cause them. But yeah, they want that big payday. So they'll slide across like 5 lanes and get in front of a truck and get clipped, and then, oh, my neck. And then the next thing you know, they're in court getting a fat check. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. And there's a lot of medical involved in that too. And insurance companies got to investigate all of that. So I don't agree with all of that. I don't agree with all of that. I understand it's an unfortunate necessity because there's too many dishonest people. Like I said, if you could trust everybody, it wouldn't be a problem. It wouldn't be a problem. Hey, I had an accident. Hey, no problem. We'll pay for the doctor bill. Cool beans. No, it doesn't work that way because half the time somebody's trying to rip you off. Gary says swoop and squat. Is that what it's called? I'm not sure about the terminology. I'm not sure about the terminology. But there goes Michael Moore trying to get into the spotlight again. He wants to be noticed again. He wants to be recognized again because the world has forgotten about him for a short time. He can just go on and be forgotten again. I mean, I don't think he contributes anything relative anymore. The 9/11 Fahrenheit 9/11 documentary was interesting. The rest of what he's done, not so much. It's kind of like the fanfare around Spike Lee. Have any of his films held up? Spike Lee's films are not that good. Hey, monkey. Monkey coming up, creeping up on me here. Spike Lee's films are not that good. Even his acclaimed ones like Do the Right Thing, not that great if you go back and watch it. I think the only one that honestly he's done that's even halfway decent is the Malcolm X, and it's kind of hard to screw it up because it's almost a documentary. JJ says there's plenty of scumbag lawyers that promote that sort of behavior. True. And Gary says if a CEO wasn't ruthless, he'd be replaced by one who was. Good point. But on to the big distraction. And this is actually a People article. Manned aircrafts over New Jersey are being misidentified as drones, according to federal authorities. We talked about this a little bit the other day. The unidentified drones had been plaguing central New Jersey since last month, with residents describing the activity as menacing and creepy. The FBI and Department of Homeland Security say many of the drones reportedly sighted in New Jersey since November are actually manned aircraft being misidentified as drones. On Saturday, December 14th, Department of Homeland Security official said authorities have not identified any basis for believing that there's any criminal activity involved, that there's any national security threat, that there's any particular public safety threat, or that there's a malicious foreign actor involved in these drones. The FBI is investigating hundreds of reports of drones operating at night since last month. It's the latest assurance after the agency said a joint news release a joint news release published Thursday that many of these seeming mysterious aircraft are being operated lawfully, and there are currently no reported or confirmed drone sightings in any restricted airspace. Well, we already know that's not true, and we talked about this yesterday. That most drones, when people look at a drone, they think of like one in the picture there, where it's got like the 4 propellers and it's anywhere from like a foot to 5 feet wide, and it might have 4 or 6 propellers on it. But military or law enforcement drones look like aircraft. So they're just dismissing people basically by suggesting the ones that what they saw that looks like an aircraft actually is one. David Creason says they'll do the same with state vehicles. Yeah, fake an accident, you mean? Yeah, correct. Kimberly says, sorry, I don't believe a word of it. Jane says, I'm listening but wrapping gifts. No problem. No problem. Glad you're there. So this is just another attempt to dismiss the public outcry over the drones, but they're really pumping up this public outcry, and there could be an interesting reason why. Gary says the drone controversy is likely a type of magician's misdirection, drawing attention away from hidden hands. Jeff says government drones looking for smuggled radioactive material. I've heard that one. And Jane says, I think drones are people doing it right. I heard last night had some in the Atlanta airport. I don't know about the Atlanta airport. I don't know about that. But a lot of people have linked this to the concept of something called Project Bluebeam. And I'll pull this up really quick. And Country Living says, I believe everything the Department of Homeland Security says, and they mean that to be sarcastic. Yeah, because you don't know, because they'll lie to you. They'll lie to you. Government has a history of lying. It has a history. I don't know why people think they're going to be honest now, as many times as they've been caught doing the most insane, shady things you can imagine over the last 100 years at least. Like the radioactive cereal that they fed to kids in orphanages, which is public knowledge now. You can find it on the internet. Look up radioactive cereal orphanage. You'll be shocked at what they did and got away with. Or the of course, what was it? Is it the Tuskegee? Not Tuskegee. The syphilis experiments that they conducted. Incredible what they got away from. Away with, rather. This is a Mirror article. It says, what is Project Bluebeam and how is it connected to the New Jersey drones? Okay. So several residents of the U.S. Eastern Seaboard have expressed their worries after many have seen drones flying around their neighborhood. The appearance of drones has sparked many a theory about what the presence of the flying metal contraptions could possibly be. Many conspiracy theorists or theories about the drones have begun to run rampant across the U.S., as many of them claim that they are from a foreign power such as China or Iran. However, the Pentagon has attempted to assure citizens that this is not the case. Quote, there is no Iranian ship off the coast of the United States. That's a lie, and I'll get into that in a minute. And there is no so-called mothership launching drones towards the United States, stated the Pentagon's spokesperson, Sabrina Singh. Singh. She further noted that the government is keeping a close eye on the situation. Okay, now we read, a couple of months ago, that it was revealed, finally, by the Pentagon, I think this was, 2 months ago, that there are Iranian ships in the Gulf of Mexico, right on our water borders, because they were allowed through the Panama Canal by China. That they've been amassing there for 2 years. They've been going out there. So yes, they are off our shores. Number one. So that's not even true. Secondly, that they suggest that there is no so-called mothership launching drones towards the United States. Iran has a drone ship that launches specifically drones. It's built for that they claim to have lost track of for almost 2 weeks. And that's where that theory comes from. So who are you telling the truth about? Kimberly says a friend of theirs posted videos of drones near where they are. And Gary says the government lies like a Titleist in a sand trap. All People says Spike Lee and never noted the fact that both of Malcolm X's parents were Caribbean migrants and his mother was a race activist. I don't know. Honestly, I barely remember the film anyway. JJ says the syphilis testing that was done did take place in Tuskegee, so you're right. Okay, the Tuskegee stuck in my head, but I wasn't sure. And All People says you're right. The syphilis experiment was done at the historical Tuskegee College. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure for a second. The government knew they wouldn't trust the doctor there more than elsewhere. And kept them sick. Kept them sick. This goes on to say, The appearance of the mysterious drones has also given a resurgence of the popular Project Blue Beam theory. The theory, which was first adopted in 1994 by Quebec native Sergei Monast, states that the global elite will use a fake alien invasion to incite panic and discord. After faking the invasion, the elite would use the ensuing panic to create a totalitarian government. According to the theory, the elite would use advanced holographic technology to project images of religious figures or extraterrestrial invasions in the sky tailored to specific cultural beliefs. Something similar to that was done in The Outer Limits, the second series. So, but I don't know if they're going to do that so that they can do a takeover, but it sure is great misdirection. It sure is great misdirection. And Zane has joined us. It's excellent misdirection. Honestly, very likely they are government drones. It's something that the government is doing for whatever reason that they haven't told us. And rather than just saying, hey, yeah, we're testing new drones, we're doing maneuvers, whatever it is they claim they're doing, we're looking for underground water deposits, they could make up anything. No, they're going to pretend like they don't know nothing so that everybody's in a panic. Everybody freaks out and throws conspiracy theories all over the place. It's turned into a massive distraction. Again, let no crisis go to waste. No crisis go to waste. I also think it's interesting, again, that their Pentagon spokesperson, again, Sabrina Singh, if I pronounce that correctly, is going to say there's no Iranian ship off the coast of the United States when they already admitted, I believe it was 2 months ago, that for 2 years Iranian ships have been going in and out of the Gulf through the Panama Canal. Warships, not just Iranian ships, but naval vessels. So they are out there. Why are you lying to us? Nature Nerd says Trump said the drones are U.S. government and that we should be honest. There you go. There you go. Exactly. And that could have neutralized the whole thing. Hey, yeah, it's ours. It's coming from our military base. Don't worry about it. We're just testing something. And people would think, oh, well, they're just experimenting with a new drone. Okay. And that they could have just closed that door. They left that door open to make everybody scratch their heads, to make them nervous, to redirect them. But I thought that was interesting about the Project Bluebird. Throw that out there really quick for everybody to look at. And it kind of ties in because that's sort of what they're doing. And again, it gives an opportunity for the government to create even more regulations. And by the way, the stack of regulations from Joe Biden, record-breaking regulations, that when we read the article a week ago was 96,000 pages. It is now 101,000 pages and counting. He's still adding to it. Zane says, Merry Christmas to everybody. Brian says, what do they need drones for? They already watch us through any electronic device that has cameras and microphones. I know. I know, but they need more. They need more. They want us to be Colony. If you ever saw the show Colony, I think it had 2 seasons. The first season was better. But the show Colony, where actually it was aliens, but they built a wall around select cities, and the wall is full of drones. The drones fly around everywhere and watch everything. All People says, did you talk about the Syrian guy that was rescued yet? You were 100% right about that story being fake. Yeah, I heard CNN had to admit that they were fooled. Is that right? No, I didn't know. I didn't open that article up. But yeah, the CNN had to admit that they'd been duped. Big surprise. Oh well. Oh well. Deep subject. And while we're on deep subjects, I wanted to get on to Biden again, as there's more discovery here. Country Living says big regulations always come from big federal governments. And Zane says the government wants it so most people can't take a piss without a camera in their face. I know it. This is a Las Vegas Review Journal. Another person on Biden's jumbo list of pardons, 1,583 in one day. Okay. And again, those names are public now. And people have been looking them up to find out who the hell these people are. And it just keeps getting worse. Biden commutes the sentence for the Las Vegas HOA takeover crime leader. A former construction company boss sentenced to 15 years in prison for a massive scheme to take over and defraud Las Vegas area homeowner associations had his sentence commuted by President Biden Thursday. Leon Benzer was also ordered to pay $13.4 million in restitution after he pleaded guilty to conspiracy, fraud, and tax evasion. The case came out of his role in the largest public corruption case in Southern Nevada's history, the Review Journal reported at that time. The multi-million-dollar scheme aimed to fraudulently gain control of HOA boards through election rigging between 2005 and 2009. The scheme then led boards to obtain construction defect litigation contracts, for Benzer's partner, Nancy Kwan, and ultimately funnel repair work to Benzer's construction company. Lawyers with the Justice Department said the wide-ranging conspiracy left a trail of ruin in its wake, including HOAs with substandard repair work, defrauded mortgage companies, and homeowners with diminished property values, according to court papers. In a Thursday statement, Biden said Benzer and nearly 1,500 other people in home confinement received clemency for their long prison sentences. Quote, these commutation recipients who were placed on home confinement during the C virus pandemic have successfully reintegrated into their families and communities and have shown that they deserve a second chance. And I just think it's fascinating that, like, everybody so far, and I'm sure it can't be everyone on the list, but everyone on the list so far that has been exposed. I mean, look at who he's put on this pardon list. Corrupt politicians, scam artists, people who are running Ponzi schemes, people who were found guilty of espionage. We read that story yesterday. Spies. One guy from a child inappropriate film and photography ring that we read yesterday, to put it mildly, so that the algorithm doesn't beat the hell out of me. These are the people on this list. Some of them I recognize from American Greed. My wife watches that show. The woman from Illinois, who was stealing tax money to fund her ranch, was on that list. Was on American Greed. We read about her yesterday too. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Brian says, have you ever seen anyone with a facial hairstyle like that? Who is it? John Travolta in, what's the name of that movie? John Travolta was in a film where he had something like that. I think it was lower on his chin, though. I'm trying to think. Swordfish. It was Swordfish. Country says, I wonder if Biden will pardon any of the dead people that voted for him. Gary says pardons are foreign meddling are just sabotaging the incoming administration. Yeah, and a lot of other things are sabotaging the administration. All those regulations, the selling of the leftover parts of the border wall, there's so much. All the extra contracts that he's been giving out, incentives he's been giving to electric car companies. It's so much. It's so much waste, and it's being done deliberately. I mean, 50 years in politics, and he's going to go out by destroying as much as he can. Zane says the world governments are begging for another lockdown. Look at South Korea. Kimberly says all big money people, not your average Joe for sure. Exactly. And these are all, again, these are very corrupt individuals. People who were defrauding the elderly, people who did land scams, people who stole tax money, ripped off charities, espionage, again, industrial espionage. For the one we read yesterday had 2 people from China that were stealing secrets. The guy with the children photos, and we'll leave it there. These are people that I don't know. I mean, these are people that their activities hurt a lot of people. The judge from the Kids for Cash scandal, more than 2,500 innocent children sentenced to jail so that he could, sentenced to juvenile detention because the juvenile detention center was giving him a kickback. Seriously, how many lives did he destroy? Some of those kids erased themselves in jail. They're gone. You can't fix that. Oh, but he's sorry now. And Biden let him go. All people talking about the Syrian again. The perfectly clean, rescued Syrian guy embraced bright light despite claiming to be in darkness for days, later found to be a terrorist. CNN's Clara Ward was yet again in on the fraud. I know it. Kimberly said, I read that. Nature Nerd says the U.S. is more crooked than I could have imagined. South Korean and Singapore governments dissolved because of just one of these scandals in comparison. Yeah, and the German government this morning too, right? They've got a pseudo government in place, keeping things going for the time being until they can get their elections up and running. The German government has collapsed. German government has collapsed. But yeah, there we go. There's another one, another for you, courtesy of the Biden administration. Oh my God. And there it is. Meanwhile, we may as well pull up everybody's favorite New York representative here. Who knows what I'm talking about? Because things are not going well for her. Or so they say. So they say. And this is a Western Journal article coming up. Any second now, Restream. Let's go. Western Journal article. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez suffers painful career blow at the hands of her fellow House Democrats. Yeah, well, she's kind of acting like she wants to jump ship out of nowhere. Moving away from her typical stances, basically noticing the direction that the wind is blowing in and trying to get on that bandwagon. But it's too soon, sweetheart. Nobody's buying it. Too soon. Democrat Representative AOC of New York failed in her first bid to parlay her high-profile publicity into political power, according to new reports. The House Democrat Steering and Policy Committee is recommending Democrat Representative Jerry Connolly of Virginia to become the ranking member of the powerful House Oversight Committee. Ocasio-Cortez was seeking to upend a more senior legislator despite opposition from former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Which, if you're wondering what happened with Nancy Pelosi, by the way, when you're in Luxembourg trying to navigate a set of 200-year-old marble stairs and 4-inch stilettos, things happen. Rumor has it her hip is broken. And Anarchy has joined us, Anarchy Television. And Raccoon says, oh my God, she's so dumb. I really have no idea how she got a job. She can't be that dumb. She's a state representative and she's been elected like 3 times. Even though that second time, I don't think anyone actually even ran against her. Maybe I should go down there and run. It says, according to NBC, Connolly received 34 votes against 27 for Ocasio-Cortez. NBC cited a member of the panel it did not name. Democrats have been shuffling leadership in the House with the expressed intent of taking on the incoming Trump administration. Democratic Representative Jamie Raskin of Maryland challenged Representative Jerry Nadler of New York to become the ranking member of the Judiciary Committee. Raskin's success promoted the race for his former position on the Oversight Committee. I don't care about all that. So she didn't make it. And Nancy Pelosi was against her anyways, which again, probably just didn't like, since Nancy is still standing on her laurels, didn't like the sudden shift in attitude from AOC. She's a phony anyways, so it shouldn't surprise anybody that she's going to come off like one. It's kind of like Tim Walz with his like camouflaged hat and flannel shirt that he was wearing, trying to act like a man. This is what men do. I'll put on a flannel shirt and I will put on a camouflage hat. And then I will go and get a shotgun. And then I will be a man. JJ says it says a lot about her constituents that she's been elected 3 times. Well, it's not hard when almost nobody votes. It's like, I'd like to see the actual voting numbers from that district. Again, if she runs against one person and wins, literally one person who didn't stand a chance because he was from Wall Street and nobody likes bankers anyways. And then the previous time, like I said, I believe it's been 3 times, and the second time, I don't even think anyone ran. So she was a shoo-in. If no one's even going to step forward, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? So these, just another phony politician, and just sick and tired of them. That's really what killed the Democrat Party this time around. That's really what put them in the shambles that they're in, is they look so phony. They look so phony, and everybody's, I think, getting really kind of sick and tired of it. She gets really sick and tired of it. Actually, that kind of ties in right here. I'm going to read this really quick. And I think this is a Daily Mail article. And it's talking about somebody from The View. But it's just something that she said that struck me. And I wanted to mention it really quickly. It says Sunny Hostin says she missed the mark after Trump's win. So Sunny Hostin, one of the Democrat Party's most vocal defenders on The View, delivered a stunning admission on Monday's show, conceding that her unwavering faith in her party may have blinded her to the needs of working-class Americans. In a rare moment of self-reflection, which I don't believe any of it anyways. I think it's just, it's plotted anger. I can't call it scripted. It's kind of like a reality show where there's a plot, but there's no script. So they tell the people, you act like this, you act like that, and just say whatever you want to say. And that's how most reality shows are done, because they're fake anyways. I think The View's like that. I think there's a plot without a script. So I don't believe anything that they say anyways. But her quote I thought was interesting, and it ties in with what I was previously saying. It says, in a rare moment of self-reflection, Hostin, who had long resisted critiquing Democrats, said she's now rethinking my thinking as Trump's dominant support among the working class becomes impossible to ignore. Quote again, Maybe it's time for the Democrats to do a little bit of this post-mortem, post and declared, acknowledging how the party has failed to connect with the very people it claims to represent. Quote again, the Democratic Party has always been the party of the working class. If you look at all the policies, they're for the people, yet despite their promises and intentions, the messaging didn't resonate. That's exactly the problem, Hochul, or Hostin, excuse me. Hochel's the governor of New York. Hostin, that is the problem. Okay? Think about what she said here. Look at the policies. They're for the people. Are they? I don't know. Yet, despite their promises and intentions, the messaging didn't resonate. Maybe because promises and intentions is all anybody ever gets. Maybe we don't want to hear what you have to say. Maybe we want to see something actually done that actually helps anyone or benefits anybody, and not just fringe minority groups with activists who scream about oppression. Maybe that's what we'd like to see. Maybe we'd like to see somebody get up there and have intentions and make promises and actually follow through without making up a bunch of excuses and blaming other people for why they fail and getting paid a fortune to do it. Country says you sounded like that big red furry character on Bugs Bunny. Oh yeah, I will love him and squeeze him, and I will call him George. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. JJ says Candace Owens tried to run against her, but the district screwed her over with the timing of paperwork. And Garch said shoe-in races are so annoying. On my ballot in November, I think there was one contested race on the state level. Zane says Australia wants to ban children from social media, but how would they even enforce that? They would have to have a digital ID on every device so that they couldn't use their own device to its full potential. So it would involve putting a low jack on every device, which it already kind of is there. We read that article a couple of weeks ago, I think, that, yeah, they could do it through the phones. I mean, there's ways around it anyways. But yeah, the Australia's degrading into a dystopian wasteland at this point. Gary says corrupt corporations put Barbie doll receptionists or spokesperson in place to deflect fire away from the fat cats. AOC is just a booby doll for the Democrats. And Gary says also Gossamer was the Looney Tune monster. I couldn't remember his name. Raccoon says I was thinking he sounded like the dragon from Beanie and Cecil. It might have been the same voice actor, because some of the people from the Warner Brothers shorts also worked on Beanie and Cecil, which was a totally improvised live action show. And kudos for even remembering who Beanie and Cecil were, actually. But, I mean, that's your problem right there, Hostin. They make promises, they claim to have intentions, they create policies, and nothing changes, unless it's for the worse. Maybe people just got tired of that. Maybe they just got tired of it because, again, Trump, like him or hate him, at least he tries to do what he actually says he's going to do. At least he tried. And he does talk about things in terms where it seems like he actually listens to people. Just as an example, he's kicking around the idea of eliminating daylight savings. And, the media is like, who gives a shit about that? Virtually everybody. I've been hearing people complaining about daylight savings all the way back into the 1970s. For decades, the majority of people in this country have been bitching about daylight savings. What the hell is the point? I don't want to set the clock, even though nobody sets clocks anymore. The clocks set themselves. I'm talking about back in the 70s and 80s and even 90s where you had to go and do it. People would miss work. They'd be late for work, or they'd screw something up, or they'd forget something because of the time. It has been a burden since they started it. And he says, you people don't want daylight savings? I'll see if I can undo that. I'll see if I can get rid of it. Okay, fine. Something that'll make things a little easier, because it really serves no point. They tell you it serves a point. And one of the excuses is, oh, well, it helps farmers. Farmers are going to get up with the sun anyways if they're on a private farm. They don't need a clock even. Okay? They really don't. But that tells you, okay, this is someone who actually listens to regular people. And he's like, small thing. We'll see what we can do. I get it. I get it. Raccoon says, I complain about it every year, and yes, I do believe he listens. It's the same thing about the tips. He had some waitress bring it up with him. He's talked about that. Some waitress mentioned it to him, and he was like, okay, I understand that. Let's look into that. Let's walk that back so that we go back to not taxing tips. Fair enough. It makes you feel like he actually listens. And Kimberly says, I think it was originally put in place for farmers. That's what I heard. But again, they don't need the clock. When that sun comes up, if they're on their own farm, not an industrial farm where people are scheduled, but if they're on their own farm, they're getting up with the daylight anyways, or probably before. Jane says, Chris Rock, the comedy man, joked Trump has a best friend now who is African and very rich. Mr. E. Musk. Yeah, he is technically African. He is technically African. I'll throw that up from all people if you want to take a look at that real quick while I move around here. While we move around here, we may as well talk about some more government waste. And since I accidentally said the name earlier, a little Freudian slip there, we'll talk about Governor Hochul from New York, because that is our next subject coming up here really quickly, I think. Come on, Restream. And this is going to be a New York Post article. And the New York Post says, Governor Hochul slammed over taxpayer-funded Buffalo Stadium after the Bills owner's massive windfall. Egregious deal. So Governor Kathy Hochul's decision to fork over taxpayer money to build a new stadium for the Buffalo Bills drew renewed scorn after the NFL team billionaire owners sold a minority stake for a massive profit. Hochul, a Buffalo native, agreed in 2022 to provide $600 million in state funding, while Erie County tossing in an additional $250 million for the privately owned stadium after Bills owner Terry Pegula threatened to leave New York. The new 62,000-seat Highmark Stadium, expected to open in 2026, played a significant role in inflating the value of the Bills by more than $2 billion. Yet the state will not get any significant return on its investment. The investment proves what everyone knew. The deal was great if you're the Bills owner, but not so for the people of Buffalo or the state. Dr. Mark Rosenthrob, director of the Center for Sports Venues at the University of Michigan, noted that there will be no direct benefit to Buffalo residents since the new stadium is being built next to the antiquated one in the suburb of Orchid Park. This was an egregious deal. There is no other way around it, according to Rosentraub. Had this facility been built in downtown Buffalo, it might have stimulated the economy, but they are just replacing what they had in the same place. I really don't think that any city, state, town, county, township, whatever, should be investing in these stadiums. If you want to build that stadium there, build the stadium there, but they shouldn't be getting practically enough tax money to pay it off to do it. They basically got the stadium almost free. That doesn't make any sense. And that's tax dollars. And with the promise that it's going to bring money into the community, which is a lie. It's not going to, they don't care about bringing money into the community. What the government cares about is we can tax the community more because it's technically worth more now because of this damn stadium. It's the same argument that you get from the Olympics. The Olympics committee, you've got people all over the world, countries all over the world, and states in the United States and everywhere else begging for the Olympic committee to come and play one of their games there. It's devastating to those communities. Go back and look at the history of it. You can find this stuff on the internet. It devastates those communities. They lose money. They lose money. All the money that gets poured in, taxpayer dollars, to build all this equipment, to build Olympic-sized swimming pools out here. Where is it? Over in Conyers, they got that horse park that they built. It's been there since, what, 96? They don't do nothing with it. Once every month or once every couple of months, there might be an event there. It can't justify itself with how much it costs. It's a waste of money. And it's the taxpayers' money for the promise of income that never comes. And then they tax the shit out of you for it. It's incredible. Monkey also, daylight savings, says, I've heard people complain about daylight savings. Now all of a sudden people want to keep it. Do they? I don't see why. I don't see why. Kimberly says it gave them an extra hour in the evening to work their crops as most of them had other day jobs. Is that the idea? Marvel fan says, unpopular, but I dislike football. I never watch it. Well, don't feel bad. I don't watch any organized sports. I never have. I've never been into it. Baseball, football, basketball. I really couldn't care less. I really couldn't care less. I've never been interested in that kind of stuff. So I don't know anything about any, football games, college games. I don't care. Hockey, I don't care. It never appealed to me. It never appealed to me. Marvel fan says the Bills would never have left. The owner was just very smart doing this, messed up for taxpayers. Yeah, because $850 million in taxpayer funds poured into that. They're not going to get a return on it. To build a stadium that they could have afforded to do anyways, or take out a loan for and pay it off with the revenue from ticket sales, which is what they should do. Buy the land, get the permits, build the building, and so on. I mean, it's not like the state's going to get that money back. If it was a loan, that'd be different. Even if it was a dollar for dollar loan, no interest loan, but you've got to pay this back to help to put the stadium there if they thought it was going to help with income. It doesn't make any sense. Nature Nerd says out of towners getting nicer, which means they can pay us more in taxes mentally. Monkey says probably from TDS, but again, likely came from people on Twitter or X. As we move along here, let me catch up a couple of comments. Tuck says the one season I tried watching football, I saw players on the local team throwing games. Oh no. And Brian says all of my peers at work are into sports. They aren't into the things I'm into for the most part. Hey, that's okay. That's okay. I've never been interested in organized sports. I've never found it that interesting. Individual sports, like martial arts or boxing or no, you don't know. I got to tell you, obstacle courses, stuff like that. Things like that I've been more interested in seeing than team sports. So there we go. And anyway, with that, we are at the top of the hour, so I'll go ahead and start signing off. Again, you are listening to and/or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com. Looks like Granny Smith. Hi, Granny, you awake? She is now. Granny Smith in the chair behind me, keeping me company. Special thanks again to Jane Spitfire, who sent something for the felines to the P.O. Box. Much appreciated whenever anybody is able to reach out and help us out. So with that, I'll go ahead and sign off. Thank you, everyone else, for joining us here today. Oh, you coming over to say hi, honey? Well, I did call her. You know, they typically do respond. Here she goes. It's Granny Smith, everybody. Say hi, darling. No? You don't want to say hi to anybody? It's okay. I'm not mad at you. Thank you, everybody who was able to join us here today. As always, hope you got something out of the conversation. And we will catch you again